What it do, everybody? It's your boy King Crowder back again with another edition of History You May Not Know and Things That Are Not Taught and Discussed in detail from a historical perspective. Today's lesson I want to focus on is anti-Black hate in the Americas. What is it? Where it came from? Why is it still popular? And what are the buzzwords that you hear that talk about its relevance? Anti-Black Semitism started back post-slavery, especially after formerly enslaved Americans got their freedom. One thing that we began to saw popular is that we began to see imagery that were anti-Black being shown, depicted, and all across America. You must understand, when you hear the words coons, there were caricatures being showed of how Blacks, men and women and children, were predicted. They called the Black man lazy, ignorant, selfish, self-indulgent, and they used the word with the hard ER on it. They used strong physical features to show Black people that they couldn't have any self-control or understanding. These images and sayings we still hear today. Blacks are lazy. Blacks don't work hard. Blacks do not do anything to take care of their children or friends. They love white people, women, and etc. You must understand that these came from ways to demonize a group of people who used to do things for a certain part of the country. We never take the time to look at this, why this is so significant from a historical perspective. The reason why this is so significant is that it created a word on how to wear and destroy and set a certain standard for a certain group or individuals. When you hear words like this, you must understand it is a way to self-segregate people. When you dehumanize them, talk then and make them less than. When you treat them as such, it is not perceived psychologically to be seen that way. I want to make sure I show words and imageries from back in the day that we may not see and know as such, but all of these things display anti-Black hate. Remember, it was so many words that were used towards Black Americans that started with the N, ending with the ER, such as slipping, lover, having, knocker, rich, shooter, stake, stick, dip, and woodpile. They would make up ways to say when you work with Black Americans, they won't finish the job. When you give a Black American money, he won't do anything with it. Black Americans can't read. It was so many ways to create that separation as in children's age that we see it still being used till this day. Why is this so important? The impact of Jim Crow affected two generations, three, if you really think about it. The older generation who had the strong feelings, the adults and parents who were actively in that era, and the children who were given this piece of information to disparagingly talk down upon a group of citizens in this country. Anti-Black sentimentism has still been stronghold to this day. As you look at our history and you see we're in the second or third generation of this, we can still see the effects being given in our American fabric. Why is anti-Black hate so important to learn? Number one, you need to be aware of it when you hear it. Number two, you need to be aware of how to discuss it and not be afraid to have open dialogue about it. Number three, you must know that it's there. One thing that I think awareness is supposed to do is supposed to inform you on things you are not educated about. I do believe that most of us are not educated on what anti-Black is, when we see it, and how deep it goes. Most of us do not have a historical perspective on why this movement and why these sayings around Black people exist. The commonalities are prevalent, the issues are still there. Until we talk about it from a historical perspective so we know how to handle it and how to deal with it, we will see the anti-Black in most places. We see it in other communities, the Latino community, the dysphoria. You see it amongst a lot of people that come to the Americas, see and know this anti-Black sentiment. Why? It is displayed worldwide. Knowing when to hear it, knowing your history and your demographic background of the United States will help break down those barriers and discussion. My final thoughts on the anti-Black hate is that, number one, we must know it's still there. We must know that it was imageries displayed and history taught nationwide about this issue. I do think that it's all of us in America should know about it, is that we should understand how deep it goes so we do not repeat them a generation after it has been taught. I think this is a perfect lesson to lead into our discussion on how we and labels have been placed on certain groups in this country and how to get them removed. I want to thank y'all right now for subscribing and liking the channel. King Crowder wanted to come here with your early gem on how anti-Black started and why it's still prevalent. I wanted you to see images, local things, and others about what was currently happening with this issue. I want to thank you for subscribing and watching the channel. Hope you enjoy yourself. Peace.